This is Iris Martinez, an interviewer for the Iowa State University Special Collections and University Archives Voices of a Pandemic Oral History Project. Today is May 3rd, 2021. I am interviewing Luis Gonzalez from Perry, Iowa. Please know, Luis, that this interview will be placed in the Iowa State University Library and shared with Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there's anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there's something you want to talk about, please go ahead and bring it up and we'll talk about it. So I'll ask you a series of 5 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree to each one. There are 2 questions we need to make sure you agree to before we go on. Voces wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation at the Benson Library at UT Austin. We will retain copyright of the interview and any other materials you donate to Voices. Do you give Voices consent to archive your interview or your materials at the Benson Library?
I agree. Yes.
Do you grant Voices copyright over the interview and any materials you provide?
Yes, I agree.
Do you agree to allow us to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes.
We have many questions in a pre-interview form that we have already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voces server before we send it to Benson. We would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or your family members. So that will not be a part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Benson Library. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at the Benson Library?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. On occasion, Voices receives requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone number, or your email with journalists?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right, so let's get started on the interview. So again, I just want to remind the viewers that this interview, along with this project, we're trying to describe Latinos' experience during COVID-19. Luis is going to tell us a little bit about his experience with COVID-19. So, Luis, can you tell me a little bit about your experience with COVID-19?
Well, COVID-19 affected my job in a ways because it got me terminated at one job, so then I had to adapt and find a job that was willing to take me in right away. And thank God I did, and that's all I needed to be able to pay the bills.
Okay, and how did you first learn about COVID-19?
I learned about COVID-19 through mostly social media. People were just talking about it, so then I picked up on it, so I looked it up, and eventually it just got into the mainstream news, which I eventually saw on social media too.
Okay, and what was your initial reaction to the information about COVID-19?
At first I was questioning it, but then I got into looking into it, and then some of the numbers were legit. So then I was on teetering at whether or not I believed it or not.
That makes sense. Okay, and at what point and how did you realize that this was serious, or do you not think it's serious?
I've had people tell me that they've had loved ones like shut down for maybe a week or two into like where they have to be locked down at home, eat certain things or take certain medicines. But at the same time, I don't know many people that it has affected like that as well. So like maybe it's 25-75 of the people I do know.
Okay. For clarification, did you contract COVID or family members?
Some of my family members did get I don't know if they got the disease. They never got tested, but they were bedridden for a couple of days, or maybe 5-7 days, and it did have to miss work.
Oh, okay. So how has COVID impacted you, like daily?
Daily, I have to deal with people coming in with no mask, and I have to say something about that because that's the correct thing to do. I'm protecting others. The place I work at requires people to come in with masks. So if I don't do my job, I could be responsible for something that happens to other customers or other coworkers.
Absolutely. What about your family members? How are they affected, or even those that don't live in the United States?
Family members have been a little more, had to been a little more careful because they are in their olden days, they're getting there. So they have to be aware of what they can be near and can't be near. So we can't get them getting sick at such a feeble state as well.
That's understandable. So how is going out into the world during COVID-19 different from pre-COVID?
Well, now it's more of a less connected type of base. Like now we're more distancing ourselves, so we're getting more times to ourselves. So we're actually thinking about things, and taking in the world on an individual base.
Yeah, that's true. It's a new way to look at how this has affected us in a positive light, maybe. Mm-hmm. So how, if at all, has COVID impacted your ability to gather with your family and friends for important events?
It hasn't really affected that because our family has always been close. So we've always been there when either one is sick. And I don't know whether that's okay or not, but, we get over it. Whether we have a healthy immune system or not.
Okay. All right. Who have you interacted with and why?
Mostly just been interacting with a small circle of friends and, of course, the close people I call my family as well.
Yeah, I feel like we all have that COVID circle nowadays.
Exactly.
Has your family changed what you take with you when you leave your home?
No, that has not changed at all.
So, do you guys take extra things when you go home? Like, go out of the house?
No, nothing extra.
Okay. How about wearing masks? How do you feel about that?
I think it's up to the individual. Maybe they have some underlying conditions that doesn't let them need to wear a mask. So maybe they can't wear a mask because they have asthma.
Okay, how do you feel personally about wearing a mask?
I feel like it's up to you. If your immune system is healthy and okay, you can risk yourself at that, but you got to be aware of other people too. Yeah. Other people want to feel protected, so maybe do your part just for social interaction. People.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's move on to some education portion questions. What challenges do your siblings face as they move to an online? How did they take moving online? I know it's been a while now, so they're probably used to it.
I think it's just a quicker way of becoming more independent. Because when we go from high school to college, they teach us to be like, okay, next year when you're in college, your professors are not going to always be there. So you're taught to be more independent, quicker. So I think that's a good thing. But also the social interaction that they need as high schoolers, it's also something they need to get as well. And with COVID coming into impact, it affects them because they don't get the social interaction. They don't get the opportunity to bounce ideas off each other, and get creative.
That makes sense, yeah. I think that's important. I think that's one of the most important parts of school, even. So how, if at all, have schools helped your community during COVID-19?
They've been offering free lunches, so maybe breakfast and lunches. I don't know exactly the times, but I know they do offer it during summer vacations.
Okay. And have they distributed food at all? Do you know?
Yes, they have a church over on one side of town that during a certain time, once a week, they give out vegetable boxes. They're just necessary groceries, and you can get one per family.
Okay. And did your community schools provide technology accommodations for your siblings?
Yes, they got their own laptops. When I was in high school, I had maybe like a laptop I could use during school, but I couldn't take it home.
Oh, so times have changed.
That's pretty cool.
All right. So what about some challenges that you have faced education-wise, or your siblings have faced education-wise?
I think now it's a little tougher to go visit colleges. So my little brother may be having trouble doing that, or maybe they do smaller groups. So then he maybe had to wait a longer time. And maybe he's got to make a decision real quick, so that's necessary as well.
Okay. So let's move on to maybe some healthcare questions. What kind of concerns or questions about healthcare have emerged as a result of COVID-19?
Well, for me, I haven't been insured, and COVID-19 hasn't helped that, so it's kind of made it a little harder.
Okay. So how's it changing the way you're getting healthcare?
Now when I go to the hospital, in case I do go to the hospital, I can pretty much say it's going to be a little more expensive.
Yeah, that's... What about any mental health impacts or challenges during COVID-19?
No, I haven't had any of those.
That's
But
good.
I understand that other people may have because of the enclosure and time alone they may have spent.
What about access to healthcare? Has that changed for you, or is that?
No, just about I know where to get it. I know how to get it, but the problem is whether I'm able to get it. So I may not be able to qualify, and that's just for other reasons.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so how about getting vaccinated? How do you feel about the vaccine?
I feel like you know where to get it. They pretty much keep you very well informed on how to get it and what it would do to you. I don't feel like it's necessary for me. I'm a healthy human being, so I think I'm okay.
Okay. So how, if at all, have the organizations you are a part of provided resources regarding COVID-19?
They have had meetings, board meetings, of course, like the Animal Rescue League. They send a newsletter to the email. PetSmart sends out, like I said, emails to workers and associates, so they get the information that needs to be out there to us.
So you're part of like the animal community?
Yes, I am a member of the ARL, and I work at PetSmart, so I'm very into the animals.
Got it. I'm sure that was a big change for the animals not to see humans every day.
It really was, yes.
Yeah. And how do you believe politics affected how COVID has been handled?
I think it just made us more aware and made us want to know more. So and in giving us all this time at home, it's made us being able to dig more into the truth and know more about the facts as well.
Yeah,
not just believe everything you see on TV.
Exactly, that's a good point. How do you think COVID has affected politics in your area, like here in Iowa?
Locally, I think it's become a lot closer. I think the governors and the state representatives know what the people want because the people have reached out and they communicated through a crisis, which means they've actually come together, reached a consensus, and they know what they want. So it's up to the state representatives and the governors to represent them.
Yeah, COVID has definitely pushed people to speak. So let's move on to some work-related questions. You said you were a dog trainer?
Yes, I am currently a dog trainer.
All right. And how did COVID impact your work at the beginning of COVID?
Well, at the beginning, I couldn't have a full class with just 6 people in a class. Now I'm limited to 4. Those 2 are sales that I make, and I make money on commissions. That's how I get my check. So because I can't make 6 people in one class, it kind of makes me have to distribute the people among a longer period of days, instead of, clumping them up in 6.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this is obviously a sensitive topic. You don't have to answer any of these questions if you don't feel comfortable. But do you have any new worries regarding you or your family's members' documentation status?
I did for a while, but then, I realized everything's going to be okay. And then they're essential workers and they have to do what they have to do. But I figured out it's going to be fine.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about finances?
Financially, no. I just know that pretty much the economy's been affected by COVID, and the economy being affected affects stocks and investments you make. And I've had investments in the market, and because of COVID, they haven't been peaking as much as they should be. They're a little limited because of the lockdowns, people not going out, people not spending money. And because of that, maybe I've lost money and maybe I've gained money. So that's the thing.
It's really just like a hit or miss. Okay, so how, if at all, have the social movements in conjunction with COVID-19 impacted your daily life?
I can't really say they have. They haven't really affected me that much.
Okay. And what about your perspective on going out?
Going out, I think you should be considerate of others. If you have family at home that can't get sick, or maybe you're a non-systematic carrier and you can carry this disease and spread it. So maybe just be considerate. That's the thing. Think about others, not just yourself.
Very good. Very good point. Have you personally participated in protests recently?
No, I have not partaken in any.
Okay. So it looks like we're down to our last question. And the last question, it really is, do you have anything else to share with us with conjunction of your COVID experience?
No, I do not. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you again for being a part of this very important project. I think it's really important that we record as many people stories, because one day we'll look back and we'll know that this was a time in history that we needed to record. So I just want to thank you again, Luis.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.